Ever notice how the nicest people always seem to be the most tired? They're the ones constantly saying yes, helping everyone, putting others first, and somehow they end up feeling drained and unappreciated. Here's what's really happening. Your kindness isn't just being taken for granted, it's being weaponized against you. People have figured out exactly which buttons to push to get you to react, to help, to drop everything for them. But there's a psychological shift that changes everything, and it starts with understanding why your constant availability is actually making you an easy target. You think being the person everyone can count on makes you valuable, but what if it's actually making you a prisoner? When you're always available, always ready to help, always saying yes to everyone's needs, it feels like you're being a good person. But here's what's really happening. You've become predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. Carl Jung understood something most people miss about constant availability. He saw the human mind as an energy system, and every time you react emotionally, every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're draining what he called your psychic energy. Think of it like a battery that gets smaller every time someone pushes your buttons. The problem isn't that you're weak, the problem is you're spending your energy on people and situations that give nothing back. Here's the truth. When you're always available, you stop being a person with your own needs and boundaries. You become a tool. People start treating you like an emotional emergency button. They press it when they need attention, validation, or help. Then they forget about you until the next time they need something. You think you're being kind, but you're actually training people to use you. The scary part is how this predictability makes you easy to manipulate without you even knowing it's happening. People figure out exactly which words to use, which stories to tell, which emotions to trigger to get you to react the way they want. They know if they act helpless, you'll jump in to save them. They know if they make you feel guilty, you'll change your mind. They know if they create drama, you'll drop everything to fix it. This is where Jung's insight becomes powerful. He believed that true strength comes from choosing when and how to spend your energy, not from reacting to everyone else's needs. When you're always saying yes, you're not being kind, you're being controlled. You're letting other people decide how your energy gets used, and they're using it for their benefit, not yours. The psychological prison you're trapped in isn't made of bars or locks. It's made of your own predictable responses. Every time someone knows exactly how you'll react, they have power over you. Every time you automatically say yes, you're giving away a piece of your freedom. Every time you drop everything to help someone who wouldn't do the same for you, you're reinforcing the idea that your time and energy don't matter. But here's where it gets interesting. When you stop this pattern, when you become less predictable and less available, something unexpected happens to everyone around you. What happens when the person everyone relies on suddenly becomes unavailable? The answer reveals who was really using you all along. Picture this. You decide to stop being the go-to person for everyone's problems. You stop answering every text immediately. You stop dropping everything when someone calls with another crisis. You stop explaining yourself when you say no. What happens next is eye-opening. The world around you goes into full crisis mode. People who used to take your help for granted suddenly panic. They get angry, desperate, confused. They start asking, "What's wrong with you? Why are you being selfish? Why have you changed?" But here's what's really happening. They're not upset about losing your help. They're upset about losing their ability to control you through your predictable responses. This reaction shows you something important. These people weren't relating to you as a person. They were relating to the idea of you, the role you agreed to play in their lives. You were the reliable one, the helper, the person who always says yes. They figured out exactly which buttons to push to get you to react the way they wanted. Mention they're stressed, you'd offer to help, act helpless, you'd jump in to save them, create some drama, and you'd drop everything to fix it. They've been depending on manipulating your reactions without you even knowing it. Every time they needed something, they knew exactly which emotional triggers would work on you. They knew you'd feel guilty if they played the victim. They knew you'd feel responsible if they made it seem urgent. They knew you'd feel selfish if they made you seem like the bad guy for saying no. When you withdraw this availability, their whole system breaks down. They can't control you anymore because you're not reacting the same way. You're not explaining yourself. You're not giving them the emotional responses they've learned to expect. This makes them feel lost because they don't know how to deal with you when you're not being predictable. The people who get the most upset when you set boundaries are usually the ones who are benefiting the most from you not having any. The ones who call you selfish for protecting your energy are the ones who've been using that energy for free. The ones who say you've changed are right, but they're mad because the change doesn't benefit them anymore. This withdrawal of availability becomes a powerful act that exposes the truth about your relationships. You discover who was genuinely caring about you versus who was just using your predictable reactions to get what they wanted from you. But the most powerful manipulation happens in complete silence, and most people never even notice it's happening. The most dangerous manipulation doesn't involve words, threats, or obvious pressure. It happens in complete silence, and it controls you from the inside. This is what's called the silence of guilt, and it's how manipulators control you without saying a word by making you control yourself. Here's how this works. They don't need to tell you what to do. They just create situations where you feel guilty for not reacting the way they expect. They make you feel like you're being selfish if you don't help. They make you feel responsible for their problems without ever directly asking you to solve them. You end up controlling your own behavior based on what you think they need from you. This silent manipulation works through implied expectations and your own internal pressure to meet others' needs. They never actually demand anything, but they create an environment where you feel like you have to act a certain way to avoid guilt or disapproval. You start questioning your own judgment and feeling selfish for having boundaries, even though you're just trying to protect your energy. You can spot this manipulation by looking for specific behavioral signs. First, your relationships become one-sided. They only reach out when they need something, never to check on you or offer support. Second, they always have constant crises that they expect you to solve. Third, they show no real gratitude for your help. Fourth, they get angry or defensive when you try to set boundaries. Here's what else they do. They make you feel guilty for saying no to anything. They completely disregard your time and energy, acting like it doesn't matter. They always position themselves as victims who need rescue. They use false promises, saying they'll pay you back or return the favor, but they never do. They fabricate sob stories to trigger your empathy and sense of responsibility. The scary part is how this silent guilt makes you question everything. You start wondering if you're being too harsh. You feel selfish for wanting to protect your own time and energy. You second-guess your instincts when something feels wrong. They've trained you to feel bad about having normal human boundaries. What is the silence of guilt, and how does it control your behavior? It's when others make you control yourself through implied expectations and internal guilt, rather than direct manipulation. They don't need to control you directly, because they've made you feel like controlling yourself is the right thing to do. You become your own prison guard, making sure you meet their unspoken demands. Recognizing these signs is the first step. But breaking free requires understanding what real power looks like. True freedom isn't about being loved by everyone. It's about being willing to be misunderstood by the people who are using you. This is where wise kindness comes in. It's not about stopping being kind. It's about being smart with your kindness. You learn to use silence as a tool to reclaim your energy and reactions. Instead of automatically responding to everyone's needs, you pause, you think, you choose. This path requires accepting what some call the loneliness of the strong. You have to be willing to lose relationships that were based on exploitation. Some people will walk away when they realize they can't control you anymore. Others will get angry when you stop being their emotional emergency button. This loneliness isn't punishment, it's the price of freedom. Silence becomes your most powerful tool for seeing things clearly. When you stop reacting to every drama, every crisis, Every guilt trip, you start to notice patterns. You see how people have been pushing your buttons. You observe the manipulation games without getting caught up in them. This silence gives you space to think instead of just react. Here's what happens to the people who were using you. Your silence forces them to confront their own internal noise. They can't use you as an escape anymore. They have to deal with their own problems, instead of making them your problems. This becomes unbearable for people who've been using your reactions to avoid facing themselves. Setting boundaries and reducing your availability isn't mean. It's essential self-preservation that protects your energy. When you say no to the world, you're saying yes to yourself. When you stop being available for every crisis, you protect what Jung called your psychic energy. You stop letting other people decide how your mental and emotional resources get used. The freedom that comes from this is real. You start only accepting what resonates with your peace and truth, instead of everyone's expectations. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't respect your boundaries. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your own time and energy. This transformation means some people will reject or even hate you. That's the price of inner freedom. The people who get the angriest are usually the ones who are benefiting the most from your lack of boundaries. Why is the loneliness of the strong actually freedom in disguise? Because it means you're no longer available for emotional manipulation and only engage with what brings genuine peace. How do you reclaim your energy and only accept what brings you peace? Through wise kindness, strategic silence, and the courage to disappoint people who are exploiting your availability. Here's the truth. Your kindness was never the problem. It was your lack of discernment. You were giving your energy to everyone without asking if they deserved it. Now, you have the power to choose who gets access to your time, your help, your emotional responses. Look at your relationships right now. Which ones only involve people reaching out when they need something? Which people get angry when you say no? Those are the relationships where you're being exploited through your automatic yes responses. Protecting your kindness doesn't make you mean. It makes you wise. You can still help people, but now you help the ones who truly deserve it. If you are also a victim of your own kindness and can relate to this video, like and subscribe for more, because I'll be bringing more relatable videos that will teach you how to become an elite mentality individual. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, stay sharp.